Hey guys, the Therapist Gamer here. Welcome back to another episode of the Mental Health and Gaming channel. Today I'm going to give all you gamers a secret for happiness in gaming. It's a secret that I've kept to myself for a while now, and I think it's time that I shared it with the rest of you. So let's get started. All right, guys. Today we're going to take a look at one specific secret for achieving some level of satisfaction as a gamer. I work from what I call a stress management approach when it comes to therapy. So what that means is my primary goal when I'm working with clients is stress reduction. That could be stress reduction in any area of their life. So one of the things that we're taking a look at is that balancing act that we all do in order to minimize the stress levels in our life. And it's a constant balancing act, and it's something that we often aren't aware that we're doing, but we are constantly in a state of trying to minimize the level of stress that we have in our lives. Gamers have created stress for themselves, and I want to talk about one specific secret for minimizing some of that stress. Not all of it, but some of it. And here's the secret. Focusing on the here and now. Focusing on the present. It sounds like a simple thing, but it's such a hard thing to do sometimes. Focusing on the present is a common theme that you'll find throughout psychology. There's a whole school of psychology that's devoted to the idea of focusing on the here and now and being a part of the here and now rather than looking at the past or looking towards the future. I'm not saying it's not important to every once in a while take a look back at the past so that we can learn from our mistakes. And I'm also not saying that you shouldn't plan ahead, because you should do both of those things. And oftentimes good stress management requires that you do both of those things. But what I'm saying is that particularly as gamers, we are moving more and more away from focusing on the here and now and the present. I'm going to give a few examples of places that I see this happening over the next few minutes. One of the places that I see us as a gaming community moving away from focusing on the present is this idea of getting enthusiastic and excited about games long before they've even come out. There's nothing wrong with, watching a preview for a game and getting excited. The problem comes when we start basing our experience on that preview. When we start doing things like pre-ordering games based on a preview, that gets us into a lot of trouble. Up until recently, I have never ordered a game pre-order. I think it's kind of silly, but as a PC gamer, oftentimes one of the things that happens is if we order a game ahead of time, we get a much better deal on that game than we would if we purchased it at the time of release. One of the recent games that I pre-ordered after never pre-ordering a game was Batman Arkham Knight. And as you remember, the PC release of that game was a tragedy. But here's what I did. I decided, okay, I'm gonna focus on the present. I'm gonna take this game as it is. And I did. I played the game as it was. I completed the main storyline of that game on a PC. Most of the storyline I finished even before the first update or patch came out that corrected a lot of the issues, but certainly not most of them. I played that game with problems, and I acknowledge that I had a good time. Yes, there were slowdowns. Yes, there were frame rate issues. Yes, there were problems. But I focused on the here and now. I didn't focus on what was coming down the road. I didn't focus on the past and focus on the fact that I had screwed up and pre-ordered a game that turned out to be a flop. I focused on the here and now, and I had a good time. And as a result of that, I have learned a lesson that I will probably never pre-order a game again. Pre-ordering has become so commonplace for gamers that the industry as a whole is taking advantage of us as a result of looking to the future, looking to the potential. We have started to buy games based on their potential rather than based on what they are. We buy games based on what we hope they will become. And when we do that, we open ourselves up to getting taken advantage of. And the industry is doing that very easily with us right now. The only hope for turning that around is us. The industry's not going to wake up because they benefit from it. They benefit from us looking to the future. They benefit from us looking at the potential for a game rather than what is the game. Another area where I feel like we're looking toward the future is this idea of buying early access games, buying alphas and betas. Again, we do that based on the idea of what this game can become, because the promotional materials for the game convinces us that, wow, if they really get this game on track, then this is going to be an amazing experience. But what often winds up happening is we wind up stressing ourselves out because we purchased this game that we feel like, okay, now I have to put time into it in order to get my money's worth. And because I have to put time into it, I have to take it for what it is. And what it is, often cases, is an unfinished, buggy mess. So we've gotten into this pattern of purchasing games long before they're done, long before we even have any idea what the potential for this game can be. And we're trying to enjoy a buggy mess. And as a result of that, we're getting frustrated and we're getting depressed and we're getting angry. Don't buy early access games. It's as simple as that. If you want satisfaction as a gamer, stop pre-ordering, stop buying early access. There's one other area, not necessarily gaming related, but I think it ties in a lot to gamers and gaming, and that's particularly in the technology area. And another example of this phenomenon that I see where we're not focusing on the here and now is when we're buying technology. I recently got a cell phone just before Christmas, back at Thanksgiving of 2015. I bought an Asus Zenfone 2. Zenfone 2s are decent hardware for a really cheap price. And I bought that phone based on the idea that it was relatively decent hardware at a pretty cheap price. I got myself and two of my family members phones for less than the cost of a flagship phone. Here's the problem. The Zenfone is stuck on Lollipop version of Android. And because the Zenfone 2 has an Intel chipset, updating to Marshmallow is tough because they have to. It's not just a matter of taking the Google source code and sticking it on the phone, because they've got to do a lot of, finagling in order to get Marshmallow onto an Intel chipset. Intel chipset is a fairly uncommon chipset for cell phones. Things like Qualcomm are much more common. But one of the things that I've noticed as I've, kind of paid attention to that is that I'm looking towards the future. I'm looking towards the potential for what this phone can be. My mindset has become, okay, if I can get Marshmallow on this phone, it's going to be a game changer. It's going to make me happy. And that's not the truth. The likelihood is that even if Marshmallow ever comes to this phone, the likelihood that this phone is going to become a supercomputer just because of a OS update is pretty small. It's not going to change my experience with this phone all that much, but I'm continuing to look towards the future and look towards what I want it to be rather than what it is. It is a decent piece of hardware for a cheap price. That's what I bought. And in order for me to be the most satisfied with it, that's what I have to focus on. If I'm constantly focusing on what this phone could be, I'm going to be frustrated and upset. Those are just a few examples of how I think gamers have gotten themselves caught in this pattern of looking towards the past and the future rather than what is. If you want some satisfaction as a gamer, you've got to start to focus on what is. What's in the here and now, what's in the present. Stop looking towards what can be. So there you go. There's the secret to happiness as a gamer, is focusing on the here and now. So this has been The Therapist Gamer. I hope you enjoyed this particular topic. Let me know your comments below. Like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys again very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.